Good afternoon or good morning wherever you are. Good evening, and thank you for joining this month's SuSanA webinar. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that this webinar is being hosted by the Stockholm Environment Institute and the SuSanA Secretariat, and this is part of a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And this webinar series is a recurring series, so we have a new topic every month, so I hope you'll be able to join some of our other upcoming webinars this spring. And we also hope that this will be an interactive webinar, so after the presentations you'll be able to ask questions using your audio settings, or you can use the chat window below and we'll do our best to moderate the questions. You can also turn on your webcam if you'd like, and there's some instructions to the left of the screen to tell you how to do that. And if you have any questions or problems, you can put those in the chat directly to me or in the chat window. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Arne to give us an introduction.
Yes, happy to see so many joining us. This is a webinar by the SFD Promotion Initiative, Shit Flow Diagram Promotion Initiative. We take advantage that we have a steering group meeting here in Eschborn, Frankfurt, Germany, and that apart from ERWAC, all of us are here. So we'll soon have a round of introduction and you can see who's here in the steering group and which is working together. The seminar will have three main inputs. One will be from Barbara Evans, a slightly broader introduction to the Shit Flow Diagram initiative and the graphic generator, as that is a new tool that we can introduce to you. We'll have an input from India, from Suresh, on how you can use SFDs as well to influence politics, policies, to make awareness raising. And then many questions will come to our help desk, and that will be the end, that we as well give you some insights how you can get help from us to do your own SFD. That said and done, we'll just do a quick round of introductions so that you can see the faces and hear the voices of the different people. Maybe we can start there and you can just introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Shantanu Kumar. I'm working as a researcher in Center for Science and Environment.
Hi, Bitush Luthra here. I'm also working in Center for Science and Environment, involved with the Shit Flow Diagram since 2 years now.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Scott. I'm a lecturer in Public Health Engineering at WEDEC, that's the Water Engineering and Development Centre at Loughborough University in the UK.
Hi, I'm Peter Hawkins. I'm part of the Global Sanitation team at the World Bank.
Hi, my name is Susanne. I'm based here in Eschborn in the headquarters of GIZ and working in the sector program of Sustainable Sanitation.
Hi, my name is Suresh Rohilla. I'm the Program Director of Water Management at the Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi.
And I'm Barbara Evans from the University of Leeds and part of the SFD Promotion Initiative.
Hi, I'm Claire Furlong. I'm from the Water Engineering and Development Centre at Loughborough University.
I'm Arne Panesar. I'm heading the sector program on sustainable sanitation at GIZ.
Hi, I'm Isabel Blackett. I'm an urban sanitation consultant.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Rodriguez. I'm an advisor here at the GIZ sector program on sustainable sanitation. Also supporting a bit the SuSanA Secretariat.
Yeah. Hello everybody, I'm Manuel Guarez. I'm part of the SuSanA Secretariat here in...
Okay, said and done. And now I think I can already hand over to Barbara to give us a slightly broader introduction. What is this Shit Flow Diagram?
What it is,
I have no clue.
I have no idea at all. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm kind of working on the principle that most of you here will have seen shit flow diagrams in various forms. And what we really want to do today is just update you briefly on some of the modifications that we've been making and some of the recent developments in the Shit Flow Diagram Promotion Initiative. As you'll all be aware, the shit flow diagrams are a tool for carrying out overall assessments of urban sanitation or sanitation in urban spaces, cities and towns. And probably the most well-known part of the process is the diagram itself. So when we started this initiative, we developed an approach to producing standardized diagrams. it wasn't well, it's quite a complex process. So what we've done more recently is that we've created an online tool which enables you to make your own shipflow diagrams much more quickly and easily than was previously possible. So what I'm going to do briefly just now is walk you through the online tool, but it gives me the opportunity to point out that the online tool and the graphic on its own, they're very useful, and they're very nice tools to be able to use in workshop situations and when you're talking to colleagues at the urban level. But one of the things that we always say in the initiative here is that just a drawing of what's happening doesn't really help you to understand the constraints in the city. So what we really encourage people to do is to go through a sort of broader analysis of what's happening and what are the enabling environment characteristics around urban sanitation in the given places where you're doing your work. So I'm going to talk about the graphic, but as I go through, I'm going to keep mentioning that you can't just look at this physical data in isolation. You need to think about what's going on in terms of policy, finance, institutions and capacity at the city level. So I'm assuming you can all see my screen. I hope you can. So if you were to visit the SFD Promotion Initiative website, the SFD portal, one of the things that you can do when you get there is go to the SFD Graphic Generator tab, which is this one that I'm showing you on the screen right now. The graphic generator is set up so that you can either create a new SFD, so if you're just starting work with colleagues at the city level, or indeed if you're just thinking about your own city, you could make an SFD for yourself. But also we collate and curate, I would say, a library of case studies and examples of SFDs, and later on when SuSanA talks about the help desk, we're really keen to encourage people to go through the SFD process and then work with us to have those SFDs recorded on the website. So one of the things you can do is load existing SFDs. And I'm going to walk you through the process using one of the SFDs that we've already created, just because I think that's an easier way of understanding what's going on. So I've clicked here on the load an existing SFD graphic, and I'm going to look in the library, and I'm going to pick randomly any one of the cities and towns where we've already been doing this work. So I'm going to choose Dar es Salaam for no other reason than it's a very nice shipflow diagram. We get very attached to these shipflow diagrams. We like some of them, we don't like some of them. We have happy memories of some of the work. So this is what happens when you're looking at an existing SFD file. So the first thing that you see in the tool is this grid here, which is essentially a way of thinking about what types of sanitation are there in the city. And we describe sanitation systems, collection systems, in two ways. The first thing is where does the toilet directly empty to? So we're interested in whether you have, whether you're looking at toilets that are connected to septic tanks, whether you're looking at toilets that are connected to fully lined sealed tanks, which are not septic tanks, whether you're looking at lined pits with semi-permeable walls and open bottom, essentially a pit latrine, whether you've got broken or damaged or abandoned pit latrines, which are down here, and then right down at the bottom we have open defecation. So this column here has similarities to the ladder of domestic access to sanitation that you see in the JMP process. So it's essentially, what does your toilet where does your shit immediately go to? And then we ask the question, what is that system subsequently discharging to? So obviously, if you have a fully lined sealed tank with no overflow, you're going to go over here and click on this type of system, which is, I think you can see the two colours are highlighted here. It's a fully lined tank with no outlet or overflow. Up here what we can see are toilets which are directly connected to, in this case, decentralised separate sewers, so essentially small system sewerage. And we also clearly in this example have toilets which are directly connected to open drains or storm sewers. That's what we can see here. And over here we can see that there are septic tanks which have soak pits. And you'll also notice that for systems which have soak pits or soakaways of any kind, so septic tanks with soak pits or pit latrines, you can define whether or not that type of toilet or that group of toilets are in an area where there's a high risk from contaminated groundwater or low risk from contaminated groundwater. If you want to find out if you have contaminated groundwater, you can click on the more details and go through to another sort of secondary online tool which would enable you to assess groundwater risk. I'm not going to do that at this stage. I'm just going to go through the whole process, but if anyone has questions about that at the end, I'm very happy to walk through that. So what you can see here is that for this particular example, whoever carried out this particular ship flow diagram selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different types of sanitary systems, toilet collection systems that they wanted to consider. What they will have done then is filled in these details here, which is the general, very simple general information about the city. So we can see the name of the city, the country, the name of the person who was responsible for carrying out the analysis, the date that it was prepared, the population of the city, the type of study that was carried out, whether it was a desk-based study or a field-based study, and again we can talk in more detail about what that means. And then some very general information about how the whoever's carrying out the analysis estimates the relative flows and risks from solid and liquid fractions in types of toilets where you get solid fractions and liquid fractions. So where you have fully lined tanks, for example, the relative amount of solids and liquids. And again, there's a help tab here which helps you to walk through that process. Once you've done that, we go through a step where we create what we call the SFD Matrix. And here is the SFD Matrix for Dar es Salaam. So on the left-hand side, you can see those systems that were selected earlier. So for example, down here we have a system which is a septic tank connected to a soak pit where there is a significant risk of groundwater pollution. Here are the proportion of the population who are practicing open defecation and so on. The user is then able to enter the relative proportions of the population using each of these different types of systems. So what we can see is that the largest number of people in this example are using lined pits which have semi-permeable walls and open bottoms where there's no outlet or overflow and there is a significant risk of groundwater pollution. So those are pit latrines in areas where there's presumably high groundwater and also people using shallow groundwater for drinking. For each type of system then, what you need to do is estimate as you go through the sanitation chain what proportion of the flow either proceeds in the way you'd like it to proceed towards the sort of right-hand end of the diagram and safe treatment, or what proportion drops out. So for this is a sewer, toilet connected to a sewer. You're thinking about the proportion of wastewater in the sewer system which is delivered to treatment, so an optimistic 70%. And then of the proportion of wastewater that's delivered to this treatment plant, how much of that is treated? And in this case, the users have assumed 50% is treated. You can go through all of the different types of systems. What you'll notice is that we have a set of variables for sewer systems dealing with wastewater, a set of variables to deal with fecal sludge in on-site systems, and a set of variables which deal with the supernatants from, for example, septic tank systems. Because very often what we find is that you might have, for example, septic tanks where the supernatant is discharging to a sewer network. So you're interested in how that reaches treatment and whether it's treated. Now obviously collecting all of this data is quite a lengthy process, and what we always say is that the SFD is much more than just the results, it's more than just the report, and it's certainly more than just the diagram. What it primarily is the process of assessing these numbers. That's what we're really interested in. And we're kind of, what we find is that the process of trying to answer these questions enables a really serious conversation to be had about what's actually happening in the system. Once you've filled in your matrix, you can draw the SFD graphic. So you click on this little button down here and you get your SFD graphic. So here we can see, for example, the SFD graphic for Dar es Salaam. Many of you will have seen this before. Here we have the very large number of people using on-site sanitation, a smaller fraction of people, very small fraction of people using off-site sanitation, and the relative flows going through the system according to the estimates that were made above. Now, the thing about the tool as well is that you can go through and change things very easily. So if you suddenly decide that you want to get rid of, I'm looking for something I can get rid of quite easily. So suppose somebody says, actually, you know what, we've eliminated these open defecators, that's just not relevant anymore. You can just click right up to the top, get rid of your open defecator, redraw your matrix, and you'll be able to come up with a new diagram. So we put these people down to 0, and we redraw our graphic. Sorry, it doesn't allow you to do that if you don't add up your population to the correct 100. So I'll just add that 1% to a different type of activity. I draw my SFD graphic again, and you'll see that it will have updated it. And now we've eliminated. I'm just checking that you can see that we've eliminated the open defecators from this diagram. And this also allows me to say that this is where we feel the kind of real power of the diagram comes from and the whole approach. Because if you had a mayor who was very, very excited about eliminating open defecation in this city and wanted to really focus on that, the diagram allows you to talk about the fact that that's not going to have a very big effect on overall public health in this case. Because you can see that it's changed these numbers only very, very slightly. So really the graphic is a very useful tool for talking about, well, what if we were able to change X or Y? What if we were able to actually increase the percentage of wastewater that we treat? So for example, if somebody comes to you and says, what we really want to do is rehabilitate the treatment plant so that we get 100% treatment, you can see that all you're going to do is capture this little 2% of wastewater and turn it into a nice green arrow over here. You're not going to have a highly significant impact on the overall effect. Once you're happy with your diagram, and you can save various versions, you can save several versions with different names, so you can talk about different scenarios. If you're happy and you've agreed with your colleagues, you can then drop down to the bottom of the tool and you can download the graphic, you can download the matrix, you can download your selection grid, and you can also download the data as a comma-separated variable file for those of you that are very nerdy and want to do your own analysis with it. I have to say we are all very nerdy here and we like to do that, but we're not expecting that everybody would want to. So the point is that we've tried to make this as useful as possible, so you're able, for example, to drop out a nice graphic. Here's the graphic for Dar es Salaam, which you could then incorporate into a PowerPoint presentation or a report or a set of documents that you want to share with colleagues to have a discussion about. So that's kind of pretty much it on the generator. As I say, the graphic generator is just one part of the website. It's one part of the support that we offer in this process. Susanne will talk later a little bit about the help desk, but I hope you feel that the online tool is certainly a nice way of accessing the ship flow diagrams and engaging people in a conversation in a way that's relatively quick and easy for people to understand. I'm going to stop there and hand back to Arne.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much for that introduction to the graphic generator. I would motivate you now to type into the chat on one hand what questions you might now have, and we'll pick some of these questions, and I'll ask Sarah as well to, I think you can raise your hand or can queue to put a question now to us directly to pick some of these questions.
So I have to turn on the mic rights for everyone, so I will just do that now. So if there's someone who would like to say something, we have actually one person already. Vinita, would you like to make a comment?
Hi, this is Vinita. I'm from Coimbatore, and we are generating the SFD for 2 town panchayats in Tamil Nadu, so in Coimbatore. So we are using this tool, and it's really great to start with actually. So I had one doubt. So it is when Barbara was explaining. So you say the septic tank is one which is fully sealed and has a partition wall, and it is connected to soak pit. Only then it is a septic tank according to your your explanation to what septic tank is and how different it is from a fully lined tank. So I see that septic tank is which is connected to an infiltration or to a soak pit. So then why does it have other options like connected to a centralized system or a decentralized system or to an open ground, or like it does not have an outlet or something like that?
That's a very good question, and it's been the cause of a great deal of conversation. It's a very good question. We make the distinction between the point where the excreta immediately goes after it's been deposited by the human and what happens subsequently. So if you're in a situation, for example, we have a lot of examples from India, in fact, where you have a septic tank, a properly designed septic tank with an internal wall fully sealed, as we would expect it to be. And as you rightly say, if it's going to be a conventional septic tank, you might expect that that would be discharging to a soak pit. But what we see, of course, is that there are quite a lot of cases where septic tanks like that discharge to other places, either to a sewer network or to open drains, or in fact not to a soak pit but into open ground or into a water body or so on. So we try and make the distinction between the point at which the excreta is immediately deposited and then the next phase of the excreta. So for us, we're interested in whether the tank is itself designed as a septic tank or whether it's just a vault. And then we're interested in where the wastewater discharges to. It's quite a difficult issue of terminology, but one of the things that we've been trying to sort of emphasize in this project is that a lot of people talk about septic tanks when they're really talking about vaults, or in fact pit latrines which just happen to have clogged up and filled up and which are discharging downstream. So for us, when we say septic tank on the data collection grid, we're talking about a properly designed septic tank where you can expect to get primary treatment by virtue of there being at least one properly designed settling chamber, at least some baffling, and at least an adequate retention time to enable you to have that expected primary treatment process. It's a really good question, and one of the things that I would just emphasize as well is that in the manual we have a set of standard definitions of terms and variables, and we've been as careful as we can be to describe what we mean in each of these cases, understanding completely that there's a lot of local variation in understanding. But it's nice to hear you ask that question, because it's a genuinely interesting question, actually, how you make that distinction.
Okay, can we invite for more questions, please?
I think there's a question in the chat here about whether the graphic or the designer can be used in rural areas of India. That's Shiny. If you want to clarify your question, feel free as well. That's from the chat.
Well, yeah, just to respond. Well, actually, yes, you could use it in rural areas as well. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't. You can use it in any area as long as you can describe the boundary of the area that you're interested in. We tend to think about it as more an urban tool because we've not skewed, but we've tried very hard to incorporate the full range of different systems that you would see in an urban area. But no, you could absolutely use it in rural areas. And in fact, for the information of this group, if you're interested, myself and some colleagues, we've been working with WHO to develop a national level tool for assessing SDG 6.2 and 6.3, which are about safely managed sanitation, which draws very much on this same graphical approach. So, and that obviously handles information for both rural and urban areas. And that will be publicly available, I'm estimating sometime in the next month or 6 weeks, I think.
So
thank you. Are there more questions? Yes, please.
Whether sludge from wastewater treatment plants is dealt with.
That's also a very good question, and the answer at the moment is no. Oh, sorry, my computer's just switching itself off, which is quite alarming. No, but you could actually, if you wanted to, you could incorporate that into your analysis, but you'd have to at the moment use a little bit of sleight of hand to do it, and maybe that's something that we could write a note on, because we've actually tried to do that for a couple of cities. At the moment, the answer is regrettably.
We have another question.
Just one point I forgot to make. I just wanted to mention that some people may have noticed that the actual look of the diagram itself has changed since we started this project. So if you look at the early SFD reports and then you look at the graphics which are now generated from the online tool, the actual sort of look and feel of the graphic itself has changed slightly. So this is version 2.0. And previously we had version 1.0 through to about 1.15, I think. And that's really just because we've reviewed the experience from phase 1. So we just wanted to sort of encourage people to use the new graphic for the new tool for any work that's done from now on. Oh, and there's a question here about offline version, and the answer is yes. And I actually had a conversation with my colleagues who've been developing the tool. There will be an offline version that will be available to download, or available on a stick, or we will have a way of sharing that. So we're very much aware that that would be a helpful thing to provide. And that's not a difficult thing to do. That will be quite quick.
Yes, there's a request to Cecilia to talk slower, as some are not native speakers. But just to say that the name written is Cecilia. Cecilia is sitting left to me.
No,
or Cecilia? Okay.
Not Portuguese speaking.
Yes, but definitely Barbara was giving the presentation. More questions, and then we will move to the next point.
So there's a question about from Cecile about eliminating the 1% open defecation. Isn't this contradictory to the SDGs? So I just want to say something about the tool, which is quite an interesting thing. So we, when we're working on this initiative, we work very hard not to make any sort of value judgment about what's the best thing to do. What we're really trying to do is provide you with a tool which would enable you to have a conversation with your colleagues at the city level about what's the best thing to do. So I certainly wouldn't want to say that eliminating the 1% open defecation would be a recommendation from my side. I was just using that as an illustration of how you can use the tool to explore the effects of possible interventions. And I think it's really interesting. I'm sure my colleagues would all chip in and say we've had a lot of really interesting conversations at the city level about, okay, so now we understand what's actually happening, what might be the best thing to do, the most effective thing to do, or the thing that would have the biggest impact on equities, for example.
So thank you very much, Barbara, and thank you for your questions, and please keep writing questions to the chat. We will look at the chat, and we're actually interested in your questions. We have a frequently asked questions section. We want to understand what are the questions, so please share your questions with us. The next minutes we will go to India, where there's sort of a success story how this SFD can be used in other existing processes or can be used on different levels to as well really change the discourse and the way how you look on sanitation. So please, Suresh.
Hi, this is Suresh Rohilla, and I am a member of this consortia on SFD development. And I represent Center for Science and Environment, which is a global policy advocacy think tank, and also a capacity hub. We have used the SFD as one of the very effective tools in promoting good practices and good innovation in policy and practice. Over 5 years, we have been engaged on promoting, septic and fecal sludge management to be taken up by central, state, and urban local bodies. But it was always there in the policy narrative, but the dialogue was not changing into policy, from policy to practice. But in past 9 months, what has happened is that we started using, because we were part of this initiative, we started using SFD as a presentation tool for, we were able to use SFD as, one of the ways to present the situation across India and across cities. So what we used the tool was to give an overview of how the fecal sludge is disposed of unsafely in the residential neighborhood, and the entire dialogue, has changed from sewerage, which was seen as only a sanitation, to city-wide sanitation and making provisions for on-site sanitation and handling of fecal sludge management. So it's just 8 months past. I can say that this dialogue was only talking about sewerage as a sanitation solution, and there was also a talk about providing of toilets across India in rural and urban areas both. But in April we did a workshop which was a sensitization workshop with 500 mayors and commissioners, which were invited by Ministry of Urban Development, and then in one of the keynote talks delivered by CSC over there attracted the attention of the major area which is untouched by these national flagship programs. And the whole dialogue changed from talking about cities which were being targeted as open defecation free and only providing toilets to basically talking about ODF++, meaning that you just cannot just provide only for toilets and say it's sanitation, or provide for only sewerage pipelines, which only few of the cities would have and few parts of the cities would have. Rather, the dialogue has moved to providing solutions for on-site sanitation and providing for sanitation needs for all in the city. So this dialogue from there has moved to the next level, whereby in the national flagship program like smart cities and 500 cities which were chosen for funding from central government to various states and identified target cities. And now there is a deliberate effort by Government of India to ensure that these 500 cities are funded for effective fecal sludge management. And the move is from just planning for sewerage systems to provision of effective fecal sludge management facilities and providing for citywide sanitation. 131 cities have been chosen by Government of India as torchbearer or national flagship cities, which will be taken up under this initiative, and there would be adequate funding available for mainstreaming of better urban sanitation programming and more focus on effective fecal sludge management. Another success, I would say, is at a state level and a city level we have had. Center for Science and Environment has been engaging with 3 states in Kerala, in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh with 34 cities, and in 10 cities in River Ganga Basin in Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and Bihar. So we have been supporting urban local bodies in preparing city sanitation plans. And in this process, we have been able to help the city managers and the commissioners by presenting the existing situation analysis which was presented to them with the help of SFD, which was a visualization of where do they stand today and what are the intervention areas in the value chain of sanitation. For example, if there is a problem with containment, emptying, disposal, they are able to clearly see where there is an intervention area. So what has happened is that in the process of city sanitation planning, it has come out to be a very effective tool, and people are realizing that this is something immediate and there needs to be an attention on this. So the stakeholder group which has been constituted to support this process, we are able to reach out to those stakeholders like different ward councillors, different community-based organizations, as well as media. It has also attracted the attention of media and other communicators, and they are using this tool for further advocating good practices in urban sanitation programming. I would also like to mention that we have used the SFD in various communication collaterals. That one of the fortnightly magazine which CSC comes out with called Down to Earth. I can show you the cover page. There is a cover page story here. This is the cover page story of last issue, and in this, if you would see that comes reverse. So, so this is a mirroring image. So SFDs have been used in this cover page story to communicate to larger audience, and this goes to around 50,000 readers across the world, and 50% of that is in India. And this is also a web article also. It is available in our archives also for easy access. So this provides a reality check for various cities that how SFDs can be used for a variety of factors. So I think I clearly see that SFD has been a very good advocacy tool, and it has moved from the less understood other situation analysis, like we used to use some tables and some numbers and try to show to the decision makers that this is where you stand in percentages or numbers, but we were not able to attract the attention in the past 4 or 5 years. But now with this visual representation of where do they stand, and the color which is clearly showing that red color means something really you are in a danger and you need to immediately pay attention to that. So red and green clearly shows that there is something which needs to be immediately attended to. I think that is what I would like to say, that in India we have had a success, and we were at least in a takeoff stage we are, and all the national flagship program, all the state programs, all the urban local bodies are talking about fecal sludge management and better urban sanitation programming. So that I would like. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suresh. This slot now would be again to better understand. You might have questions directly to Suresh, to the Indian situation, but you might as well have questions on how can I use it in my country. There might be different. In India, there's a well-described process how to make a city sanitation plan and so on. And the idea was more to how to an SFD can be an additional element in this well-designed process. In other circumstances, it might be that the SFD can bring different actors and ministries or policymakers together to actually say that what would be our process in our country or in our city. So this is to provoke your questions as well, because we want to be of service for you. We want to understand your questions and want to see that where could we actually contribute to what you're planning. So the floor is open to speak or to write into the chat.
Just
and share them with Suresh maybe.
Yeah,
India
so
or
I can see 4 questions here. So Shiny asks about the selection criteria for the states, which I think is a question for you, Suresh.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say something about that?
Maybe you summarize the questions.
Well, they're quite complicated. And what are the chances of applying this in the rural context, which I think is also an India question. Sorry, my computer's really playing up now. And then, could it be used as a performance indicator for regulators as well as service providers in the city, which I think we've talked about that a lot and certainly has potential because it tells us a lot about performance at the city level. No, it's okay. And then there's a question about emptying. This is a techie question for me, I think. Is there, as there's variation in the frequency of emptying, should this be a factor? Emptying percentage can be taken irrespective of the year of emptying done. That's a really good question. We talk about that a lot. We have provided some guidance with the online tool, but it's certainly an important conversation that you have to have in each city because it's very, very context specific. I'm very happy when people ask those types of questions because that's the sort of conversation that we want people to be having as a result of doing this analysis.
We would have about 5 minutes before the next slot,
yeah.
So maybe you can...
Maybe, do you want to say something about the states and rural in India?
I talked about the states where CSC was working as a part of programmatic activities. They were, but with regard to selection of cities, it is pan-India. So 131 cities which have been selected by Government of India are across India. They are not restricted to any particular states. So all the states have representation and all agroclimatic regions are covered in this. However, CSC was working in 3 states in southern India and 3 states in northern India. So yeah, and it is in partnership with some other groups like GIZ was our partner in southern India who have been active for city sanitation planning over there. In northern India, we largely you say that these states are a little bit backward in terms of urban sanitation programming, but yes, it represents both progressive states and also some states which are lagging behind. And with regard to the second question, yes, I certainly feel it can be used for rural context also to represent the situation, where do they stand for. So I would say it's any human settlements, it would work, and we are talking about human fecal waste.
Yeah.
Okay, I think as the time is running, I would say that if we could come just to have there might be more questions. We hope there are more questions. We hope you'll direct your questions to the help desk. You contact us and we start a communication with you. And how to do that, Susanne Bieker from GIZ will introduce to you.
What I wanted to show you is the help desk, so the basic tool we offer we offer you to receive support from our side. Can you just go to so, and I just start. I hope you can see it with a landing page of the SFD website. And if you go on the right top one, you can find that login to help desk button. And when you just go there, you are asked to log in, and the login details you need here are your SuSanA login details. So I'm using a test user for this vision. I will show you later why. So you just enter your username of SuSanA and your password, and then you enter the help desk. And if you do that for the first time, that's exactly what happens. You see a dashboard. It's explaining all the functions of the help desk in a brief overview. So on the left hand side, you can see what is an SFD, create an SFD. Those are the information which can also be found on the website themselves. But what we are doing, what we want to do on the help desk during this short presentation is I want to show you how you can create your own SFD with this. So you go on the left hand side to your SFDs when you have So we start on the top and click on create your own SFD just on the top in here. And then you find exactly what you can also find in the template which is provided on the website. You find, like Barbara mentioned, you just start with the name of the city, and then you find all information which are needed to produce that report in Windows for their own. And you find for all Windows you find explanations what is the idea to be added in those fields. For example, for the city context, that there's intended to be a short description, just basic information, outline points of the city context, in which country, which city it is, how many inhabitants. And you are always able to add an image related to this window you are just filling. And there's always also related a second window called references. That's where we'd like to add your references you used for the information you just used there. In case you just start with the SFD, you just enter the name and maybe enter the scale of the city and the number of population, and start with the first city context. And that's what you have so far, and you don't have any other information so far. You can save those information and work later on that report. I don't know. So normally should not. And then when you go on your SFDs on the top on the left hand side here, you can find all SFDs, and that's why I'm using this test account. You can see all those SFDs which are currently under preparation by the user. So you will find just what you want to enter here, and you can add those information once you have it. In case you're not sure what to hand in or what to write in the different windows, there's also on most of the windows given the link to the methodology where you can find a more detailed description what's intended to be put in this chapter or in this part in the methodology. And there's also this help needed button, and if you click on this, there's an open window opens where you can write a message that's directly sent to the help desk. So in case you're not sure if the data needs to be detailed or what is really needed, just write us an email, and we can get in contact with you directly. And the advantage is that we can see what you have just prepared. So we can see the SFDs which are under preparation, and so it's easier for us to assist you and to help you with your concerns. But you can, for sure, you can also raise general questions. Just use that on the top, ask a question window, and so then you can see on in the description that it's related to your SFD called Ashbourne, which I've just started and saved. So that's the way you can directly communicate with us. Yes. So why using this form? So the first advantage is that you really have the descriptions and the explanations of all the context related to the windows where to fill in the information. And it's easier to communicate with us because we can see what you are currently doing, and we don't have to exchange emails, and maybe there's a problem with attachment. So this is all on the within the help desk, and we can have a look at it and assist you best possible. In case you have finished all those information which are necessary for the report, you can see on the right-hand side there's files and media given. So in addition to the report, we'd like to ask you for the diagram, which you either can create, like Barbara just mentioned, with a graphic generator. There's also this direct link. If you click on here, you're directly directed to the generator, and you can enter the data for your graphic in here. The next version of the help desk, which we hopefully will upload within the next weeks, will include that you can really directly save the graphics you produce with the graphic generator into the help desk file. Yes, we are also asking to fulfill the QA/QC process. So if you've done that, you can upload this file in here. And even if you have started working in a Word file, like the conventional way, the way we did before we offered the help desk, it's possible to upload this via the help desk and send it for review and get into communication with us on this way. Yes, maybe that's for the starting point.
Thank you very much, SuSanA. This was supposed to be a teaser to bring you to the help desk, and I think the floor is open now for general questions. To go into details with the help desk, I think you could use the help desk. But whatever questions you have, we have another about 10 minutes for all questions that might have come up during this presentation. And so, please, the floor is yours.
This is a really nice question. Zanti has asked if they should upload previous SFDs if they're created, and I think we would all say yes, please.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why yes, please, is because we would really like to sort of start to build up this database of understanding what's going on globally, so that would be very nice. Also, while you're doing that, please do make use, I really want to sort of just comment on the fact that not very often in life that somebody says, look, you can send me a message day or night, and somebody will answer the message and give you some input. So if you have SFDs, but there's always been a sort of annoying problem that you haven't really known how to deal with, please do register on the help desk and upload your SFDs, and also then ask a question, because the team would be available. Although I think we should say that we're not available like on a 2-minute turnaround necessarily. There's a sort of performance expectation. So there's a question about sludge and stormwater, and once sludge is in stormwater, do we also count that as part of the contamination? That doesn't happen automatically in the model, but again, it's something that we've thought about quite a lot. Any sludge which goes into the stormwater drainage network is deemed to be unsafe and not contained. This is a slightly different question. I'd actually have to think about how you could do it. There certainly would be ways of doing it, but I'll have to consider it. So I will park that question if the users don't mind, and it's something we can respond to subsequently. It's a bit like the sludge from wastewater treatment question. You can fudge the model, but we'd have to give advice on how to do that. Question from the Dar es Salaam case is, did the project build capacity at national, regional level? As I understand it, the answer to that question is yes, but there's nobody here from Airbag, so...
But maybe this is an option to say that the overall understanding is that the process is as important as the SFD. That our joint experience is that it brings people together, it clarifies actually what is the right question, what is the hot spot, what is useful to be discussed, and that it makes, for those sitting together with the SFD, actually gives a clearer picture of what's going on. And I think that Dar es Salaam definitely was among them where actually that as will come as a feedback from those doing.
Yeah. And certainly led to a good conversation about future investment decisions, I think.
Indeed, no, the one for Dar es Salaam has been a huge help in making investment decisions about what to do in a sanitation project in Dar es Salaam.
Yeah.
The SFD was prepared for Moshi, also in Tanzania. Was that not the GIZ?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that brought together four sort of ministries or topics which said that we want to have a better future in that field, and that really helped the different departments to talk to each other and find a joint way into the future.
Mm-hmm. There's a question here from Shiny who would like to be trained on using the toolkit. Who should be approached, GIZ or CSE?
Yes. Yeah, I can answer that. CSE is a recognized capacity building hub, and as a part of this program also we are conducting several training programs, and you can get in touch with us. And I think I see it on the screen, csc@cscindia.org, or you can we can contact you if you give us your email address. From the help desk also we can. And also there was a question I saw that whether the training was provided to use the tool to the municipal commissioners. I would like to answer that it was not that the municipal commissioners themselves were doing the SFDs, but there was different levels of intervention. There was a sensitization workshop using the output of the SFD generator, and that was to sensitize the municipal commissioners, but the city managers and city engineers actually sat down and were feeding the data sets into that, and the focus group discussions and all those things which are included in this. So there are two different tiers of engagement. With regard to some consultants and some other people who are involved in promoting good practices, there were training of trainers for SFDs in India, and which was used to scale up the advocacy on urban sanitation programming.
Okay, maybe some...
Yeah, well, I just want to make an observation, actually. There's several really interesting questions about overflows from certain types of toilets going into the drainage system, elements of the drainage system reaching treatment or not reaching treatment. And actually, it's actually very encouraging for us, I think, to see you asking all of these questions, because one of the challenges with designing a tool like this is to make it as simple as possible, but to incorporate the very wide range of situations that one finds in urban areas. And so actually, what's particularly helpful if you go through the process is to have the conversation that actually what we should be worrying about is contaminated water in open stormwater drains, for example, which is possibly not a conversation that anyone's ever had before. We, as I say, we've essentially ended up with ways of sort of estimating that and incorporating them into the model. And what I'm taking from this flow of questions here is that these are the types of questions that we're dealing with our frequently asked questions. They come up a lot. So there will be quite shortly a set of sort of standard answers to a lot of these questions. And please keep them coming. And even after this seminar, if you have other sort of thoughts about this, if you can just direct them to the help desk probably, then we can incorporate them into the FAQs.
Okay, are there other questions in the chat?
There's a question about composting toilets, and the answer is yes. I can't quite remember the way you do it, but there is a way of doing it. So, and that will be in FAQs. Yes, and it's in the FAQs, so we will answer that question. But yes, absolutely, it does accommodate that. It also accommodates container-based toilets, and we have a sort of standard way of doing that in the model, so we can make sure that that information is available on the website.
And maybe that links to that. If you have a several million size city, then composting toilet might not go beyond 1%. Anything that's below 1% is not visible in the SFD. If you decide to go to a smaller place, and there you might have a number, then that might be a relevant number.
Yeah.
We have 3 minutes going, so I think the very urgent things to be said, or some final thing that we could pick.
spot any questions, outstanding questions.
Whether it can be used for 1,000 plus of.
Yeah, definitely. I think somebody's answered that can be used for 1,000 plus population. Somebody slightly earlier had also asked a question about sorry, my brain is really not functioning now. Somebody was asking the question earlier about
Can do an SFD for a small town.
yeah, small towns, which is absolutely fine.
1,000 population,
yeah.
which means 200.
No, I know what I was going to say. Somebody was asking about frequency of emptying and transport being linked together. We're very, very aware of that interesting problem. Again, it will be available. Some answers to those questions will be on the FAQs. That's something we've identified in the first 50 or 48 that we've already done. There's a question about SFDs focused on fecal contamination, meaning looking at the potential for pathogen contact. Does that mean that in a urine diverting toilet the soakaways for urine would not be included? Well, they wouldn't if the soakaways are safe, if they are otherwise not ticking your concern about contamination in some other way box. So we have actually, I don't know if we've got any SFDs with urine diverting toilets by chance. We haven't done Durban.
That could
yes,
be
but I don't think we've done Durban, have we?
Oh,
this is Anthony. Oh, well, there you go. So then,
I think
yeah.
Okay, I take this because time is over to say that this is hopefully a start of a lively discussion with us via the help desk. I think it was fun for us to sit together and try to bring this together and share it with you. Thanks to those here, thanks to the many out there who were joining, who immediately gave some questions who might connect to us later.
Yeah.
So back to you, Sarah. Regards from everybody here. Thank you, and maybe you give us closing remark or close the webinar. Or
Thank you very much to the SFD team. I think that was a really great presentations and some great questions as well. Just to close, I'll remind everyone that this is a monthly SuSanA series, so you can join us again towards the end of February, and you can keep your eye on the forum to see updates about other webinars. So thank you very much for everyone for joining, and we're going to close the webinar now.
Okay.
And,